just getting taro back to the table is important. In 1950s, kalo consumption worldwide is 14 million pounds. Right now is approximately 4.3 and half is imported to Hawaii. So what we want to do is, of course, start with the kalo, which is a low glycemic complex carbohydrate, and reintroduce them both from a cultural and on health standpoint. Because what we got is this low glycemic complex carb, rich in amino acids, high in fiber, vitamins, and for women, magnesium. So in science, it rivals carbohydrates as a high fiber, low glycemic.
Here's another jackfruit tree. These are grown from seeds. So I like to grow things from seed because trees, every seed produces a taproot. And when you grow a seed in a pot, the taproot will go down and hit the bottom of the pot and go in a circle. And that's bad. That's called J-rooting. And the reason that's bad is because that's the taproot and it wants to go straight down to penetrate and go as deep as possible to get water and nutrients and strength. It gives the tree strength so it doesn't fall over. And when it has a J root, it never straightens that J root. It'll just extend it. So you'll have this little like spring under your tree, and so that's not very stable. So I like to plant things directly in the ground. So anyway, I grow avocado seeds, and people say it will never be true to mother, and that's true. Every seed will have its own variety. But in my experience, 9 out of 10 fruit from a good seed will produce good fruit. In my opinion, only 10%, 1 out of 10, will produce a fruit that has undesirable qualities, such as wateriness, large seed, or strings. Those are the negative characteristics of fruit. But those are just characteristics. If you grow a tree that produces undesirable fruit, you can always cut it down and actually graft a good variety onto it. And so it's always worth a rootstock. And that's how grafting works. You have to graft it onto something. Other really cool thing I love sharing about avocados is that avocados, you can weave them together, and when they become large, they will actually bond into one tree. And it's considered grafting. It's a natural form of grafting. And avocado and some other trees probably can, but avocados are the number one that are able to do it. And the reason I like this is because you can grow 3 different varieties of avocado, and when they grow, you braid them together when they're young and malleable, and then when they grow big, they'll bond into each other and they'll all become one. And 3 roots will actually support this structure, and it'll actually produce 3 different varieties of avocado. So that's a really fun thing to do for anybody who likes avocado. And that's what I've done to this row. I grow so many avocado seeds that I can weave them together. And you're only able to do this when they're young. And you can shape them into anything. And you can always trim away, you can bend them over, you can always cut them down, but I'm growing a hedge here. The more you graft into each other, the stronger you make the plant. And so that's just fun. And avocados, if you don't trim them and manicure them, they'll get like 40, 60 feet tall, and you won't be able to pick the fruit. So what I do is every time it produces 3 leaves, I pinch it, and that forces the nodes to branch out into new branches, and that forces the plant to stay small. And so you can basically have a small avocado tree just by pinching the tips. Like right here, we have 1, 2, 3, so we could pinch the tip right here just for fun. And it keeps on branching out, and you can always trim it back. But avocado take approximately 6 to 8 years, 7 to 8. Some people get them down, can get fruit within 5 or 6. That's really special from an avocado, because it takes time for a seed tree to develop hormones in order to produce fruit. And that's why grafting a mature plant onto a young plant, you can get fruit within 1 year. Seeds don't really need too much amendment because they start off really simple, and they don't like too much nutrients at the beginning because they can burn, and So I like to grow seeds without any amendments, and I just put compost on the edges, and I let nature break down the compost and the nutrients slowly get to the seed, so it's not overwhelming.
Have an experience of planting a seed or planting a coconut sprout, you know, and at first it was just annual seeds, but then as I started to settle down, it became fruit trees and coconut sprouts, because I started to climb coconuts for the food. And then it became, which coconut trees do I really like the most? Let those trees go to seed, save those seeds, bring them back to my land, plant them. So there's kind of a progression of learning, like a longer of a time span. Like now the things that I'm planting, I'm thinking, okay, those are being planted for the next generation. There need to be more nuts around than there are right now, you know? Coconuts.
We have trees that are producing this year genetic dwarfs. We also have trees that, I should say, we have trees that are producing their first year, which are these genetic dwarf peaches and nectarines. And then we also have heritage trees that will be here 100 years from now producing and won't really start producing for another maybe 3 more years from now. We planted a lot of these 3 years ago. This is one of my favorite pears, Seckel pear. And we really did it this time. We actually labeled with embossed metal every fruit tree that we've planted, that we know the variety.
And we have a whole collection of different fava beans. We have purple ones and green ones and red ones and different flowers, and so we're both doing a seed saving biodiversity collection preservation project. While the plants don't know that, they're just here fixing nitrogen. So again, the perennial part is the crown and the roots, and in this case this is Yacon, Polymnia sonchifolia, or Bolivian sunroot, and it's an aster. It's a sunflower relative. Again, it's another high Andean plant, such as the potatoes we saw, such as the akira, the edible canna. We here in coastal Mediterranean California have the ability to grow significant numbers of Bolivian and Ecuadorian, Peruvian high Andean plants, and so the potatoes and the ocas and the machulas and the uyucos and the yacons and these amazing plants that the pre-Incan Quechua peoples of the high Andes domesticated a long time ago grow really well here. So this one has a large, small football-sized storage structure underneath that has a very sweet type of flavor to it, a crunchy flavor, but it's an inulin-based sugar, so you don't digest it. So a lot of people are interested in it for various diabetic-related nutritional needs and things. But it's a wonderful plant. Here, with summertime plants such as another Mesoamerican and Andean plant such as amaranth here, and all the little black seeds that are stuck to my hands. And these little black seeds are then incredibly nutritious. Apparently they have all the amino acids but one, and they're very productive. And one thing about a permaculture seed saving garden, and yet we've got the parsley that's totally edible, but we let them go to flower and let them go to seed, and then eventually we'll get lots and lots of parsley seeds, which they themselves are edible, and the parsleys can resow themselves. So at some point we're relinquishing control and growing plants that are edible, and by allowing edible plants to reseed in your garden, you end up with a lot of, quote, edible weed seeds, and the system begins to take on a bit more of its own self-management through that.
So this is a good example of allowing plants to live out to their full maturity. This is a beautiful purple sprouting broccoli. It doesn't head up. It's an amazing producer, and it's super good. It's some of the best broccoli you can find. And we've come in and we've harvested it, gotten the side shoots, and then at a certain point, you can either take this plant out and start, if you're in like full production mode and you just wanted to utilize the space to its optimum potential for profit or plants, but in the sense of fair share and having that giving back into making an ecosystem. Right now there's not much in flower, and so allowing this to flower gives the birds, the bees, the hummingbirds different some nectar source. Mostly the bees are hitting this right now. So even though they're not out yet, in the afternoon this thing is covered in bees. There's some urban beekeepers that are probably happy that there's something flowering. And so we'll often let things go to seed on their own, to collect the seed from them, or just to have some nectar source for the bees. So people keep going by going, oh, you're too bad you lost that crop to seed, or you didn't get to harvest it. And it's actually an intentional thing, especially with the cilantro. We take the cilantro, we let it go. It's an incredible beneficial insect habitat to allow things to go to seed. Cilantro, dill, the different sunflowers and things. But at a certain point, they also become harbors of disease. So you have to figure out, what's that balance? Like if you look at this one, and it's a natural succession. It's not a bad thing that aphids colonize the plant. They're sucking out the nectar to allow the seeds to be, to become dry. And these are all seed pods here. Here, this plant is more resilient and resistant to the aphids. So it's a healthier plant as opposed to this one that hasn't quite gotten to seed and it's covered in aphids. So when we look at selection, we're looking at plants that are naturally resilient, and in that to pests and also in predators. And in that regard, we would want to collect seed off of this one rather than this one. And then this one hasn't gone to seed yet, so this is a later sprouter. So it's like, oh, if we collect seed off of this one, it won't bolt as fast as some of these other ones. So even within this here, this is an open pollinated variety. You can see the diversity of just the plant habit and its nature. Some of them haven't even started heading. So there's a lot going on here.